Welcome to MPAI 600, Week 2, here at Georgetown University's Applied Intelligence Program. I just want to start off with a couple of announcements. First, keep up the effort. I think great effort this first week here, and I hope you continue it with the discussion posts and everything going forward. I will let you know what was right and wrong about the discussion posts this week. I'll let you know individually, but I think I'm pretty happy with the effort. The problem is that everyone's ready to go the first week and they want to be very eager, and then the effort tends to drop off. Please don't let that happen to you. Please put this level of commitment and effort into your assignments going forward. Please post by Thursday. I know we had a short week this week, so no issue for this past week, but going forward, at least do it by Thursday so your classmates can post during the week. And I also just want to say that it gets harder going forward, so be prepared for that. And then just, again, some key dates coming up, and I'll put these out in the announcements as we go forward. Besides your weekly current events and discussion boards on September 9th, Paper 1, the collection strategy is due, and I will give you an example of it in this week, in this announcement. September 27th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Groups 1, 2, and 3 will be doing their Assignment 2 presentation. They will not be doing the paper, and I know I'm very repetitive on this, but every class I get, should I do the paper this week? Do we do it? If you're doing the presentation, you're not doing the paper. And September 27th, you will be doing a presentation. September 30th, if you didn't do the presentation, you will be doing the paper for Assignment 2, and I want to make sure that's clear at the onset going forward. And then in October, we'll flip-flop, and I'll get to those dates in a second, but that lays out kind of the key assignments and key dates going forward. One thing I do want to mention, I've actually gotten some questions about careers and jobs and working in the federal government and military transitions. I'm going to hold a jobs talk in October during that second Zoom session live presentation. So in addition to having those presentations, I'll give thoughts and open it up to questions on jobs and careers in the federal government as well. So we'll answer those issues then. So review of last week, the UBL capture and the UBL video and the Lowenthal books. I think the whole point of that was that you take the theory from the Lowenthal books and apply it to a real-world scenario. That's why this is the Applied Intelligence Program. It's not just the theories of intelligence, but it's how it works in the real world. And I hope you were able to kind of draw those connections between the collection strategies and cycles that you saw in the Lowenthal book and how it played out in the real world. And again, the UBL capture, I think everyone hit these themes. The signals intelligence, obviously the linking the courier was the key signals intelligence victory. Linking the courier to when he was communicating with his family back in Kuwait. That was the key signals intelligence strength of the UBL capture. The interrogation of Sangul, I think that was the key point, that interface that really kind of broke the case, or started to break the case. And then the that was the last piece. A lot of you did bring this up, how they surveilled the site and how they kind of identified UBL's multiple families, or matched up the families with what they knew about him. I think that was all contributed. It wasn't just one or the other, but they cross-cued and they leveraged each other to bring about his final capture. And I think that's the key lesson from the UBL capture. This is the first class I've had where they talked about OSINT. I'll buy it. I'll buy the media exploitation of Osama bin Laden did, if not bring his capture, at least brought his state of mind, brought his organization, the role of himself in the larger organization. Some people brought that up, and I'll I'll incorporate that for future classes, and I think that's another point to bring up. The one thing I do want to bring up when you're talking about your collection strategies, OSINT works in some cases. ISIS recruitment in the United States would be a perfect example. OSINT, social media exploitation, can work for things like Russian influence operations in the Baltic countries. It doesn't work for things like MS-13, which doesn't rely on social networking. It's more on real face-to-face and familiar ties than it would be what you can find on the internet. So OSINT works, social media exploitation works, but not in all cases. And I'll just kind of go from there. And then the intelligence cycle, again, I gave you my amended version of the intelligence cycle in the lectures. That's going to be important as we go forward, because I want you to, when we talk about the intelligence failures, whether it's Pearl Harbor, Iraq WMD, etc., I'm going to ask you, where in the cycle did the failure occur? What was the decisive point, and how did that have cascading effects down the line? And the whole point of the intel cycle shows that if you make a mistake at the beginning in developing requirements or poor collection, it will have cascading effects down the line. It's like when you take a little bit of a detour, but as it goes forward, you get a little bit further away from the correct answer, a little bit further away from your objective. And the intelligence cycle is exactly like that. So keep that in mind as you're doing future readings and future lectures. So week 2, collection strategy. Again, go ahead and pause me. Why don't you go ahead and pause this and go through the example I sent out in this announcement. Okay, so as you saw that collection strategy, again, what I'm looking for is that you develop requirements, specific tight requirements, apply the intelligence disciplines, signals intelligence, human, what have you, and analyze the pitfalls in the collection cycle. I'm giving you a lot of latitude here. If you want to do the UBL raid, that's okay, but go ahead and do something you prefer or you want to focus on, or what the focus of your study on. Whether that, again, greater strategic intelligence, human smuggling, drugs, gangs, all those things are certainly ability to be collected on and develop a good collection strategy. So those are the 3 things I'm looking for in your collection strategy going forward. And again, don't be afraid to just put stuff, put pen to paper or fingers to fingerboard or to typewriter there, or keyboard, I'm sorry, and try and knock something out. And I've seen some examples already, and I think I like what I've seen from what people have proposed. And like I said, be creative. All right, readings. So the Lowenthal, Chapter 6, that talks about analytical tradecraft, intelligence tradecraft primer. That's a key point. And then the documentary is PBS Frontline the Confessions, which shows analytical bias to the extreme. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but let's just say it's an example at the law enforcement or criminal intelligence level where one person's improper is putting it nicely, but interrogations led to cascading effects. And when you see the documentary, it's not just a rogue cop, but it's a whole criminal system got it wrong that essentially railroaded certain the 4 people that are brought up in the confessions and essentially ruined their lives for quite some time. So that's week 2. I look forward to your discussion points, and if there's questions or issues, please let me know.